Welcome. So glad that everyone's able to join us tonight. Chances are that the reason you're joining us is you're curious about gold and silver and you have a few questions about it. Like, why should I buy precious metals? What metals should I be buying? Who can I trust to buy them from? How do I know I'm getting the best price? And where do I store the gold and silver? Well, you're not alone. We want you to consider this, though. In 2020, the US Mint sold nearly 6 times the amount of gold coins that they did in 2019. The US Mint sold 15 million more silver coins in 2020 than they did in 2019. And you'd wonder, why are so many people buying so much gold and silver? And tonight we hope to give you those answers. So let's take a look at a graph here. This graph illustrates the purchasing power of the US dollar from 1913 until today. Well, 2013 to be exact, but I can illustrate today as well. The Federal Reserve was created in 1913, and back then, a dollar was worth $1 in spending power. By 2013, that dollar was only worth 5 cents. And today, unfortunately, with the constant printing of money, it is worth less than a penny and seemingly that much closer to failing. You'd see here on this chart as well, 1971 is when the United States went off the gold standard. And that really was the last thing that started the spiral, because at that point, there was no accountability of what they had to attach the dollar to. And there was no longer attached to gold. And they could just print as much as they wanted. And all these years that we've been experiencing all these price increases, especially as of late. There's no control mechanisms built in other than what the Federal Reserve puts in with inflationary or deflationary efforts. And they just keep printing money left and right, and it's diluting its value. What we hold in our wallets typically is this. It's paper money. It's fiat currency. It really is debt. It's an IOU from the government saying, we will give you something that's worth what this is supposed to be worth. But there's no store of value in it. And that's why you can see prices go up. And what a dollar bought before, that same dollar doesn't buy it today. Those goods and services have definitely changed as far as our ability to get them. As many of us look at this particular graph, it really illustrates things we need every day. Now in Hawaii, for those of us that live here, we're not necessarily dealing with heating sources, but we're dealing with food at home, food out. And you can see in an 18-year period from 2000 to 2018, you can see how dramatically prices have changed. 43% increase in food at home, 59% cost to buy food out. Car insurances have skyrocketed. College tuitions that many of us face, or even just private schools or school planning period, we've seen dramatic increases in those prices and medical costs as well. So tonight, or for some, and or at least still this afternoon for some of us here, we want to give you a case for sound money, and that's what gold and silver. It's just a fancy way of saying gold and silver. And when you think about the secrets of the wealthy, what do they do? Well, all this time, they've been buying gold and silver, and they've been holding gold and silver. And so, if they're doing it, there must be a reason why. Let's talk about precious metals and some of the benefits that come with owning silver and gold. As I mentioned earlier, it is real money. The paper that we carry around is not. It's a representation. It's really a debt. It's an IOU. But gold and silver in bullion form, coin or bar, is real money. It has a store of value. It's used in every major industry, from electronics and medical applications to batteries and solar panels. Silver is everywhere, whether you see it or not. Gold is also in use, of course. Of all the elements, silver is the most indispensable metal. It It is the most electronically conducive. It's thermally conductive. It's reflective. Modern life as we know it today would not exist without silver. So due to these rare characteristics, the number of industrial applications for silver has skyrocketed in recent years. In fact, industries now gobble up more than half of all the silver demand. I mean, that's a crazy thought. They say that China's demand, for example, on silver has gone up 50% in just 8 years. Some of these other things I note on here, I say it's the gift that keeps on giving, and that's true. I had a friend, for example, that back 17 years ago, when their kids were quite young and their nephew and niece were quite young, the husband decided to buy 100-ounce bars of silver. And 17 years ago, he was able to get those bars of silver for $575 each. And his goal was when those kids would graduate from high school, he'd give them a 100-ounce bar of silver. Today, those 100-ounce bars are worth $3,300. So you can imagine when those kids graduated, how happy they were to get that. And I mentioned the industrial use. I mentioned the demand is growing, and tax advantages. That's a unique one. That's something I learned not too long ago. But for example, when it comes to the American silver eagle, the gold eagle, when you purchase those, or you invest in those, I should say, and they go up in value if done in increments of less than 10,000, which is typically each transaction under 10,000, then all the value that those coins will later see is not a taxable event. And what other investment could we say that about? Where we're going to be able to sell it one day with all these gains, and it will not be a reportable taxable event. And so that's another great advantage of having some gold and silver, especially the currency-based gold and silver. Here's a great example of purchasing power, as it kind of alluded to earlier, that has been drastically changing over time. In 1965, you could walk into a Ford dealership, you could plop down 2,500 1-ounce silver coins or 2,500 silver note dollar bills back then. They were called silver notes. They were worth exactly the same. You would drive out of that Mustang dealership with a brand new Mustang. When you fast forward to today, and how much could $2,500 could you purchase? Versus those 2,500 silver coins would now buy you 2 brand new Mustangs. And so it's incredible when you use this as an example of how much purchasing power has changed over time. Another example would be in 1965, if you had $10,000 and you decided, should I buy a brand new house, which you could afford back in 1965, or should I buy $10,000 in gold? Back in 1965, as you can see by this picture here, you could get 281 ounces of gold. They were only $35.50 each. Today, that average house has gone up 85 to 85,803, a great return. But when you compare that to gold, this is based on the 2020 value at the time they did this, in October 30th, $528,000. You can see the difference in purchasing power over time. I mean, I'm a real estate investor, and I will continue to be. But you can see that, if you were to compare them side by side like this, the difference that it makes. So let me tell you a little bit about 7K. That's the company we're talking about tonight. They were founded in 2016 by a gentleman named Roger Ball. Roger Ball was the gentleman that helped co-found Melaleuca, for those of you that might be familiar with that. My wife and I have been Melaleuca customers for the longest time. We love what they have, and we consider ourselves still customers today. But Roger was the chemist behind that. He had this idea of how to use the Melaleuca plant and develop the product lines from there. And as we all know, it's been a very successful company. He sold his interest back in the 90s to some family members, and he went on to make billions in other industries because of his innovation, because he transformed industries and he changed them for the better. Well, he was approached in 2015 by another co-founder of 7K named Richard Hansen. And together they came up with this goal. The goal was for the average person to be able to get ahead by having access to gold and silver at the best dealer direct cost. So they were set out on this mission to do that. And so Roger asked the question, what is it going to take to do that? And Richard told him it's going to take $100 million to start. So he put up those funds to establish the relationships directly with the mints around the world. And now, 4.5 years later, they are the respected number one seller in gold and silver. And you really can't find some better people than the founders of 7K. They really come with not only a wealth of experience, but just the compassion for others, their fellow man, and really have big hearts. The company itself is A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau. They carry no debt whatsoever, completely debt free, and they operate on only 35% of the dollar every dollar they get. They put 65% back into the field, so to speak, to help others be successful as well. So let me give you some reasons for sound money. As I kind of alluded to, it's definitely a hedge against poor government decisions and potential economic collapse. They say that 35% of the dollars that exist today have been printed in the last year alone, and that was before the most recent stimulus. So you can imagine that it's just going to add to the diluting of the dollar. Consider another example of this would be wealth accumulation. And I pointed out the example, if someone were to invest in real estate or invest in a host of other things, what better return could be found than those examples I gave. Wealth protection, because you're dealing with real sound money, it carries its store value with it. The dollar literally could disappear tomorrow. And then you would have, if you had physical gold and silver, you would have something that carried a store of value. The paper money that's typically in our wallets would no longer be able to buy goods and services, but the gold and silver would be able to do that. So as I mentioned, one of the biggest benefits of being a member of 7K is that you're getting dealer direct pricing. In the past, you would have the US Mint. They would sell to one of 12 authorized dealers in the US. Those dealers would sell it to brokers and wholesalers, eventually getting to coin shops, and then to us, the consumer. Now, granted, there's a lot of companies that advertise through our mail, through other means on radio, social media. But what 7K set out to do is they were going to put up the funds necessary to be the number one customer of the dealers. And this is for only the US. They are the direct customer of all the mints around the world. But in the US, it requires a 5-year certification process. They are in year 5. So they will be an authorized dealer. But for now, they are the number one customer of these dealers. And then they pass the low prices on to us. They don't require, as some companies require, that you'd have to purchase 500, maybe 1,000 ounces in order to receive the benefit of the lowest price. So it goes from US through the dealer with no markup to us, no minimums, no maximums, period. And what that means is someone who says, I can't afford to buy much. Well, The person buying 1 ounce, the person buying 1,000 ounces, paying the same exact price. It's the lowest price. I've done a lot of side by sides. I've talked to a lot of companies in my time involved with 7K, and really, I can honestly say that you can't find a better way to get gold and silver in your hands. So let me tell you about an interesting mistake that perhaps we've all experienced. A gentleman that actually sparked this idea, he says it well, but he said when his son was born back in 1986, he had this idea. He thought, I really know, he understood the value of gold and silver. His parents had taught him. And so he set out, he goes, I'm going to buy 1 ounce of silver, an MS-70 coin, which is the highest grade a coin can be out of the US Mint. And I'm going to buy 1 silver eagle every month and for my son. And if he had done that, and he spent about $100 a month buying that high grade of a collectible coin, carry forward to today, he would have spent just under $50,000. Collectively speaking, that collection is worth $1.2 million today. And he, at the very end of his testimony, he said, problem is I didn't have the discipline to do it. I bought 1 coin and I stopped. And so that's why he calls it the $1.2 million mistake. Well, why 1.2 million? Well, when the mint runs coins for any time they're doing it throughout any month of the year, certain coins make what's called a perfect grade, which is an MS-70 grade. And they'll typically take those coins, and companies like 7K and others will make them a part of exclusive collection series. And so that it's kept in that pristine, perfect MS-70 condition. Well, if you look at this picture here, you can see that in 1999, for example, there were just so very few coins that met that. And so today, each coin is selling in the collectible marketplace for at least $19,000. One recently sold for over $23,000. And so you can see that by just setting aside, that's really, I call it for my kids, because I do this with my kids, a silver savings program. You can see what difference that could make, because you never know which coins are going to be similar to that 1999. And if we consider what's happened in 2020 and even into 2021, you have mints that were, or mines that were shut down due to COVID. You had mints that weren't producing as much. And so you would likely anticipate that a 2020 MS-70 or a 2021 MS-70 are likely to be much more rare, and therefore in the future that much more valuable. So what 7K has done is they've created this program called Autosaver, which allows us to participate. It's an optional program, but it's a great one. And like I said, doing it with my children, it's been fun. It's setting aside some funds every month and having them accumulated with these collectible coins. And there's 3 different series that you can choose from. The one I do with my kids is the basic one. It's a great series. Right now they're doing a 50 state series with the basic. They recently had the Hawaii coin come out. And so with this collection, you're getting an MS-70 Silver Eagle. And again, looking at that potential value over time, what could the future hold? Another great series is the Variety series. So I also collect this one. It's right now it's an animal series. So it is a state series. Each coin is unique. It is, as you can see by the example here, it would be colorized. It is a high relief minted coin, and another great option. And then for those that like their fractional gold and really rare collectibles, there is the specialty series. I mean, that is, I have 3 of those. I really love each one of those, but again, just options for the for someone who just is looking for a different way to diversify. Other benefits that come with being a member of 7K, they have private vaults. They have it's a military grade vault. It is in Idaho Falls, Idaho, 100% insured by Lloyd's of London. And Lloyd's of London will not insure something unless they know that they're backing up the integrity of the company and what items they're insuring. Well, in this case, they are insuring 100% of the value of the precious metals that are in the vault. And so for members, you have access to a private vault. There are some free benefits that come with that. It's free monthly storage for members. And one of the awesome features, again, that 7K offers to its members is what's called a sound money wallet. And this gives you the opportunity to store, again, your silver and gold eagles for free. And the flexibility it provides is amazing. For example, you link it with a bank account, you would transfer funds in, and you turn cash to gold, cash to silver, no transaction fee. You're simply getting gold and silver or eagles at the best price. And then if you want to, at some point in time, you want to realize the gains you have, you can turn it all back into cash. They offer the best buyback prices available. And like I said earlier, for those who might have missed it, you wouldn't have a capital gains, a taxable event. So how amazing is that? You're automatically going to be saving roughly 30% at least on the tax saving side of that. And another unique part of what this allows you to do is you can do member to member as well. So a great added benefit there is to that use of the Sound Money Wallet. Awesome tool. Another benefit with 7K as a business, and this may not be what everyone's interested in, but I'll hit some highlights. I'll go into a little bit more detail later for those interested. But my wife and I started a small business back in 2017 with our real estate company. And for example, one of the things you're allowed to do as a small business is write off things that you're, as W-2 employees, we're oftentimes not able to capture or take full advantage of. Cell phone, home office. There's great ways that you can do it for kids' tuitions. And again, these are things that a tax professional will help you through. We work with a great gentleman. His name is Gordon Gates, and he's helped us so much, looking at how these things can benefit our family. So imagine you could have 7K and use it as a small business, and I'll explain how that works. But for example, every trip you go on, even the ones that normally would be just a regular family trip, well, now it's a possibility that you could also write those trips off on your taxes. You can do the math in your head, thinking about the last time you traveled, and take 30% of that and say, well, now there's an instant savings. And of course, associated with those kind of trips and meetings here or somewhere else, you're going to be able to write meals, vehicle expenses, and more. So let me highlight a couple more things when it comes to a small business and how to use 7K. Well, the cost is extremely low. It really is the startup cost of having a membership. And then you look at realize and maximize a small business benefit, you may consider opening and starting an LLC. That's probably the best way to start. That's what my wife and I are doing. That's what many of our friends are doing. It's a great way to start. If you already have one, perfect. It would fit right in. It would just complement what you're already doing. 7K currently is in 7 countries, and it's continuing to open more countries as we go forward. So you have all 50 states, of course, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Singapore, Ireland, and the UK. A low overhead. Well, if you're running this as a business, you'd have a monthly overhead. But here's the thing. Here's the great part of that is that your overhead is really an asset. You're accumulating an asset, and that is really your overhead. You're not paying for office space or uh, employees, so to speak, and all the other ththings that go with typical small businesses. All those costs wouldn't even be a part of it. So I mentioned, obviously, what this is all about really is having that access to the low price gold and silver would mean, how do you do it? Well, you become a member, just like you would be joining Costco or Amazon Prime or Sam's. We join those because we want the benefits of what we're trying to get and what we're trying to have for our family. So these are the two memberships that exist. They're called standard and premium. Some have called the standard a buyer's membership. Some have referred to the premium as a small business membership. Really, both can operate as a small business, but the advantage if that's something you're open to, you'd see that the premium would definitely be the way to go. But as you can see here, they both are a 1-year membership. The standard is $199 a year. The premium is $499 a year. They both offer what's called a buyer certification training, and that really teaches you exactly what would work best for you when it comes to precious metals, especially gold and silver, and then how collectibles could be a part of that diversification. And that's where the collector's training comes in as well. And as I mentioned a few times now, you're going to get that member direct pricing on unlimited bullion. And another benefit is the Advantage Rewards program. That is an awesome added benefit where you get discounts on travel, on restaurants, and there's over 800,000 different partners in that. I'm going to be taking a trip next week, as a matter of fact, to Salt Lake, and I was able to save $200 by using that rewards program on my travel. As you can see, here's one of the differences. The standard has 3 technology credits. The premium has a whole year. I mean, those are based on months. And what that is, it's your fully functional e-commerce website, all the tools that come with 7K and from sharing technology to back office information and training, of course, lots and lots of good training. They both come with the access to exclusive low vintage collectibles. And so that's for both of them. Another difference here, as you can see with the standard, you'd get 1 graded silver coin, a whole ounce, an MS 64, I believe, to 69, which is a really high quality coin. And with the premium, you're going to get an MS 70, that perfect grade coin in that collectible NGC case that keeps it in that pristine condition. In addition, with the premium, you're going to get another 1 ounce silver bullion. Both have the sound money wallet that I talked about. Tremendous benefit. It is something that it's stored for free. You're not having to worry about the security of it. It has all the flexibilities of it, and you're going to be able to sell it right back if you needed to at some point, very conveniently and instantaneously. And as you can see, the premium also comes with some other business tools to start. I mentioned the small business. Now, how does 7K work as a small business? Well, you're starting 2 teams. When each side of those 2 teams accumulates 500 points, and I'll talk about where the points come from, then you would get a $500 commission check. Well, because of COVID, they decided to do this as soon as each side would have 250 points. And this is no different. I mean, the points come from the same way when Costco started, for example. Their members were encouraged to go out and spread the word about the value of being a Costco member. I benefited from many as being a frequent shopper of so many different companies. And here is the way ways that you earn the points. So memberships and renewals. Now, I mentioned the two memberships. So for example, with the $199 membership, that membership is worth 50 points. And the $499 membership is worth 150 points. Those three coins that I showed earlier as part of those collections, they are worth 50, 20, and 30 points respectively each. And rare coin sales, again, happen, and there are points attached to those. And there's also for retail sales, because you would have a fully functional e-commerce website. You could be sharing that site. People could shop, if you will, on that site. The products ranging from obviously collectible gold and silver, silver and gold bullion, jewelry, and other rare silver and gold collectibles. You're a member of a team. And so when any member on your team shares 7K, and there's obviously a membership involved, and there's the monthly coin sales, and all those things are involved. Well, every member from the team would benefit from the same points, exactly the same points. So that is tremendous in itself. I've explained most of these. There are a couple here that I didn't mention. These are, in general, these are the membership benefits. Residual income for a lifetime. If you're working with 7K as a business, that autosaver program I mentioned, it's one that would just help save over time for ourselves, for our children, for our grandchildren. The advantage rewards, that's the travel and restaurant and other retail partners discount program, that you have an application on your phone for that. And then you'd have access to limited and rare coins. I talked about the 1099 tax write-offs and income benefits there. Another one is gold-backed IRAs. For those that might be interested, you can also do an IRA. The storage would be free for the members. There's a third party that is the person who manages the company, I should say, that manages the IRA. But the benefit of doing it with gold and silver is tremendous. And another advantage or benefit, I should say, of 7K is the healthcare program. They offer the best group healthcare there is out there. So again, it's something that could fit for certain individuals depending on where they're at and where they're currently receiving their healthcare, or if they're in a transition time and they're just paying out of pocket. I know a few friends that this is definitely blessed to be able to have access to this. And as we talked a lot about, is it gives you access to the low dealer direct pricing.
I can say something too, Tom.
Okay, please do.
Real quick while you're checking the chat. My name is Scott. It's nice to meet all you guys. I became a 7K member a few weeks ago, and when I was signing on, I really wanted to see how this played out, like in the average person. I have 4 kids, and my wife and I had growing concerns with the amount of money that was printed, in this last year. And just looking at our savings, we have, one of our oldest daughter, her grandparents purchased a CD like 10 years ago, and it made literally $8 to $10 in 10 years. Not much money. And we decided, let's cash out the CD and let's buy a gram of gold from 7K. And within 4 weeks of purchasing a gram of gold with that, $100, it's already, surpassed the amount of money it made in 10 years of fiat currency. So it was really cool to see in such a short period of time. And 7K, it's easier than I thought. It just comes to your door. It's consistent. The sound money wallet that, Tom was talking about, how easy it is to transact. You can cash in or cash out with the click of a button. With 7K, it's literally in seconds, it seems like. So I've been impressed with the company, and just want to encourage you guys, if you're thinking about it, it's been a great experience in a very, short period of time for us.
I bought my first ounces of gold in 2017. Mm-hmm. And I went through all of the issues you were talking about. So the I actually have my spreadsheet here. So the advertised price was $1,100, but with taxes and fees, because I'm a small volume purchaser, and shipping, my the cost wound up to be about 10% higher than that.
Wow.
And then on top of that, I didn't have any place to put it. And the company that I bought it from has a vault service, but they charge you a percentage of your holdings, regularly over time. And I was too cheap to do that at the time. So I bought my own safe to keep it in, but that just further eats into your returns.
Right.
And I joined 7K a couple of weeks ago, and quick and easy. The silver was here in less than a week. There's just shipping fee, but the price they're advertising is the price that you pay other than that. And it came through FedEx. I don't know if they always do that, but fast on FedEx, and the shipping was pretty cheap to
Right.
Hawaii too. So my initial impressions, I've been really pleased with that. Much simpler process, and looking forward to using the autosaver program for wealth accumulation through that.
Great comments, Tim. And you're right. I mean, my wife and I, back in 2015, made some purchases of silver. And at the time, that company we ordered from, they weren't charging Hawaii taxes, but now you try to order from certain companies today, and on top of everything else, they'll say, oh, we have to charge you 4.5% for Hawaii's taxes. It is not a requirement. It's a currency for a currency. And yet when they get by with it, I'm not sure how they get by with it. I just talked to one yesterday, talk about high prices, but they very high compared to 7K. I mean, like $500 an ounce higher in their gold price. And then on top of that, they were going to charge 4.5% for Hawaii taxes. So not sure how that works and how companies can get away with certain fees that they do charge. Another example with the free storage is that, I talked to a company the other day, and I did ask about storage, and they said, oh yeah, we have storage. And I said, okay, well, how much is your storage? And they said, it's a flat rate to start for no matter how much it is, it's $330 a year. And so as Tim mentioned, if you're trying to pay storage on top of like already having put forward, let's say $1,000, $2,000 or whatever in your purchase, I mean, that's a huge percentage. And then you're repeating that same cost every year. So you can imagine now you're 5 years into it and you've repaid the same amount you paid for your silver or gold just in storage fees. And so that's one of the tremendous benefits. That Sound Money wallet, I mean, how can it get better? It's instant. It can go instantly from cash to silver, silver to gold, gold to silver, all the different varieties of exchanges there. It's all instant. It's stored for free. And yet it's something that you can, when you see that value go up, and you're not going to have the capital gains taxes as well. So tremendous tools. And you're starting out with that the lowest dealer direct pricing you can get. So I just want to thank every one of you for joining us tonight. It's been a great journey. I do look forward. I hope I have a chance to meet every one of you. And I appreciate you taking the time out to be on the Zoom tonight. And so God bless. Have a good night, everyone.